Good morning, everybody. I was not planning on making this video today, but you know what? I'm in the car, and you know what? I just need something to do right now. So, a few days ago, I watched parts of the She-Hulk finale. I'll be honest, I didn't really care about it. Just like in the episode of Daredevil, I only skipped to the parts that I actually wanted to see. Whereas, like, for the Daredevil episode, I just skipped to the parts with Matt Murdock, and then this episode, I pretty much skipped half of it until Jen Walters got to that one, like, retreat that has Abomination on it, where she finds out that, like, that shadowy organization, I believe it's called Intelligentsia. I don't know, I really just skimmed the wiki for it. Intelligentsia is there, and Abomination is like a spokesman for them, right? But he doesn't know what they're actually doing. So Jen goes there. She finds out that Intelligentsia is there. She finds out who, like, their leader, called the Hulk King, is. He injects himself with basically, like, her She-Hulk blood or something like that. So then he becomes a Hulk. And then Titania shows up for some reason. I think the last episode she was in like episode 6. And like I don't know if, like, she and She-Hulk became friends or something. But she shows up, she starts fighting Hulk King. Bruce Banner shows up, and through a misunderstanding, because Abomination was originally like trying to protect Jen from Hulk King, Bruce Banner shows up just out of nowhere, starts fighting Abomination just because, and unfortunately, it doesn't look nearly as good as the fight from Incredible Hulk, especially because, you know, in Incredible Hulk, they were actually, like, the same size, and now in She-Hulk, like, Hulk is, like, Bruce Banner as the Hulk is, like, a lot smaller. Like, you know how Hulk always talks about puny Banner? Well, now you got a puny Hulk. So, awesome. So Jen apparently gets annoyed with how, like, convoluted this whole thing is, and, like, she literally breaks the fourth wall to break out of her own TV show, go into, like, the Marvel Assembled documentary show or something, and then she meets with the writers of the She-Hulk show, and, like, she's wondering, like, why is the writing bad and all that crap, and, like, why are they doing stuff that is so derivative? So the writers tell her that it's what Kevin wants, like, as a bit of, like, a mockery of Kevin Feige. So She-Hulk decides to go see Kevin. She eventually, like, finds the headquarters or whatever after fighting, like, just 4 guards. I don't know, as stupid as the show is, like, she's still a Hulk. I think that it would have been cooler if she took on, like, more than just 4 security guards. But whatever. She finds Kevin, who I can't remember what the acronym is, because, like, he's just a robot with this, like, gimmick of part of the machine, like, resembles, like, his hat that Kevin Feige usually wears. So she talks with the robot on, like, oh, well, it's my TV show, even though, like, let's be honest, nobody was watching the show for Jen. They were watching it for Bruce, they were watching it for Wong, they were watching it for Abomination, and they were watching it for Daredevil. That's why you had so many cameos in that single TV show. Because, let's be honest, I think the writers knew that if they made a show that was just about Jen Walters' She-Hulk, it wouldn't go well. Maybe if they wrote it better, then it would, but whatever. So, she convinces Kevin to change the script where Hulk King doesn't become like a green rage monster. She makes it so that Emil Blonsky Abomination is held accountable for his crimes. I don't know what crimes he did there, aside from maybe negligence and maybe an accessory. But the way it came off as, it sounded like he committed murder. Oh, and then she added Daredevil, because as she said, a girl has her needs, so, okay. I mean, I'm not saying that if the situation, I'm not saying that if the genders were reversed, the situation would go differently, but what I am saying is, if you guys remember way back in Age of Ultron, there were a lot of people who made an uproar when Tony Stark made a joke about how if he can lift Mjolnir and rule Asgard, he would bring back the Prima Nocta law that like the kings had in the Middle Ages. So there's that. So Jen reasons with Kevin to like make all those changes, and then she tries pushing for more things. Like, oh yeah, and she also pulls out. She also takes Hulk out. Like, she takes Bruce out of like the final fight, which sure that makes sense because like I don't know how he showed up in the first place because. While I haven't seen the show, I did know that, like, at the end of episode 2, he had a cameo where he's literally going back to Sakaar. So, okay. So he goes back to Sakaar. Jen starts asking more questions like, when are the X-Men showing up? Nice to know that they're still teasing people with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. For that matter. But Kevin says that like, oh, she can't like do this anymore about like either it's breaking the fourth wall or basically like convincing the writers to change shit. Which, speaking of, in the show, like, just because like the writers and the characters acknowledge that the writing is convoluted and messy and awful does not make it any better. That just shows that you know that you made a mistake, but you're too stupid to fix it. So good job there. And you know what? The same goes for Deadpool, where like you guys remember back in Deadpool 2 where like a running gag was Wade Wilson saying, well, that's just lazy writing. Well, I'm sorry, but that doesn't make it any better. Like, all they did was just point out that there was a problem, and they didn't fix it. I mean, yes, it was a funny gag, but it doesn't change the fact that, like, that there was a massive plot hole that they never filled. But fine. So She-Hulk goes back to that little island retreat or whatever, and like the next time we see it, the Hulk King guy is arrested. All the people in Intelligentsia are arrested. Emil Blonsky is getting arrested, but she's still there, like, to give him like legal advice, because like she's still his counselor or something like that. Daredevil literally drops from the sky just to say hi. they skipped the entire climax. And I get what the writers and what the character was saying about how like the climax was just going to be like just really derivative and just like one big fight between like 2 Green Range monsters, well, 4 Green Range monsters technically. But on the other hand, like having a derivative and unoriginal plot is better. Having an unoriginal and derivative climax is better than having no climax at all. At least that's how I see it. Because speaking of, another thing that the writers didn't really talk about, but like they put into the show was that Kevin straight up told Jen to revert back from her She-Hulk form into Jennifer Walters, and to do it off screen too, because the VFX artists have moved on to something else. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but considering that we previously learned what was technically already known, that the VFX artists are overworked and underpaid, that little exchange just felt like a bit of a slap in the face. Or at least, like, if I was on the VX team, I probably would have felt like that was a slap in the face. But I don't know. Oh, and speaking of, the episode opens up with a mockery of the original Incredible Hulk, the one with Lou Ferrigno, where they have someone some actress literally painted green and like just tossing her car. And let's be honest, that version looks better than the CGI She-Hulk that shows up in most of the show. So why didn't they just do that? Hell, why didn't they just do that for the entire show? Like, that would have been a great nod to the original Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno. And like we just got Werewolf by Night, where, at least from what I heard, they actually did like makeup and prosthetics, and that looks way better than CGI She-Hulk, and it looks way better than a CGI Bruce Banner, to be honest. So I don't know, the choices that the MCU has made has just been crap lately. But anyway, moving on to like the actual plot of the She-Hulk finale. So Jen Walters like basically skips the entire climax at Abomination's retreat. All the bad guys get arrested. Daredevil shows up, like literally just so Jen can take him to dinner with her family or brunch or whatever. And the family is just still egging on Jen and Matt to get married, have kids, settle down, that kind of bullcrap. I don't care. I don't. Like, Daredevil's just one of those characters, like, who just doesn't settle down. Apparently She-Hulk's gonna show up in Daredevil Born Again, or at least that's what I heard, so okay. Hopefully they bring in Elektra, and hopefully they bring in Karen Page. That would be nice. But so while they're talking, Bruce Banner actually does show up to the family dinner, and he brings along his son Scar from Sakaar. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but there you go. And I'm not saying that I'm a big fan of Scar or She-Hulk for that matter, but I do remember watching a TV show, an animated show called Hulk and the Agents of Smash. And Scar was a very like savage, primitive version of the Hulk, like even more so than Bruce Banner. And he had like this long hair. He always carried a sword with him. And whatever the hell I saw on the screen standing next to Bruce is not Scar. So I guess they're setting up a Plant Hulk or a World War Hulk. And at this point, I don't care. Like, I don't see how they can make it good. Unless if they somehow bring back the Hulk that we've seen from, like, the first 2 Avengers films. But I just don't see that happening. But speaking of Hulk and the Agents of Smash, I also like the portrayal of Jen Walters in that. I don't think that they really tapped into, like, her lawyer side of the show, but, like, the part where she was, like, actually sometimes being the voice of reason to, like, all the Hulks, and like, also, like, actually smashing just as much as the rest of the Hulks, the other Hulks were. I don't know, I kind of like that version of Jen better than the one in this live-action show. But I don't know. That's really all I watched from the She-Hulk finale, because I really didn't care about anything else. And I only watched the part of the finale just out of pure morbid curiosity. So, I mean, that's really it about the finale. I guess I will talk about like, the writer's response to the criticisms. Like, because after the show came out, it turns out that the star who plays Jen, Tatiana Maslany, or whatever her name is, she went off in an article about how, like, she knew going in that people weren't going to accept, like, a female superhero or something like that. And I don't know, I feel like that's a little bit, like, what's the word, disingenuous, or at the very least disrespectful to the female superheroes who have gotten their own TV shows and movies. And, like, not even female superheroes, just female leads in general. Like, you had Wonder Woman, right? And I know that they weren't particularly good, but you've had, like, Elektra and Catwoman, and I'll admit, like, those came out when, like, I think I was still in elementary school, but I'm pretty sure that those movies weren't hated because, like, it starred a woman as a female superhero. Like, no, the movies were hated because they were awful. And, like, not even just, like, superheroes. Like, you have TV shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Charlie's Angels, like the original Charlie's Angels, not the Elizabeth Banks movie, by the way. And, like, I mean, I know that there's a huge fan base for those shows. Like, that's why they ran for so long. And, like, even for that one CW show, Supergirl, like, it ran for 6 seasons. So, as bad as some people talked about, like, there had to be some kind of fan base for it to keep on running. Like, I know that I give a lot of flack for the CW shows, but, like, the fact of the matter is, like, if Arrow lasted for 8 seasons, and The Flash is getting, like, a final 9th season, then there had to be a lot of people that watched it. Like, no matter how bad it got, there had to be some type of fan base for it. But then you look at other shows like Batwoman, that only lasted 3, which, again, even that one still had its fan base, if it lasted 3 seasons long. But, like, then there's talks about how, like, there's not going to be a 2nd season for She-Hulk, which, I mean, to be honest, like, I wasn't expecting there to be in the first place. But the point is, like, She-Hulk is just another unoriginal concept where, like, that just repeats the cycle of, like, oh, they're making a property, a beloved property, and just twisting things around, like, to to accommodate to a demographic who either is not there at all, or like is there but does not make up like the entire fan base, right? And they already cover their bases, where like if somebody doesn't like it, then that means they're racist, they're sexist, they're misogynistic, they're homophobic, they're anything and everything under the sun, right? Well, so the actual fans, they say that like, okay, well, if it's not for us, and if you're gonna treat us like that, then we're not gonna watch it. Spoiler alert: the product tanks, and then and then those same people saying like, oh, it's not made for you, they come out and say like, why didn't you see our movie, or why didn't you see our TV show? It's an endless cycle. I mean, it's happened with movies, TV shows. It just happened with that one. Like gay rom-com Bros, where the director came out and blamed straight people for the movie's failure, even though I'm pretty sure he came out and said like, oh, the movie's not made for straight people. And then he also tried saying that like, if you don't like the Super Mario Brothers movie, you're homophobic or something like that. Like I think I don't know, I think he was just being a smart ass. And if the pattern holds, I think he was actually trying to get people not to watch Super Mario Brothers. But that's just my guess. So I don't know, it's stupid. Like, this happens with movies, TV shows. I mean, hell, it happened with the 2016 election. If you guys remember that, like, where Hillary Clinton and her supporters, like, I'm not trying to get political, but it does tie into this stuff. Hillary Clinton and her supporters were saying, like, basically, like, oh, if you don't vote for Hillary, then you're, like, a misogynist, you're a bigot, you're a racist, all that shit. Well, the people that they were talking to, like, they washed their hands with that shit and said, like, okay, well, if you're gonna be like that, then no, I'm definitely not gonna vote for Hillary Clinton. Well, she lost the election, and one of the things they went back to was, like, see, those people are misogynistic, that's why they didn't vote for her. Well, don't demonize your potential customers or potential voters in that case. And I guess one other thing that I better talk about that ties into this whole thing was the writers and the actors and directors. They came out and said that, like, She-Hulk was basically supposed to be like an FU to the trolls, because, like, oh, we see trolls all the time, like, talking about how, like, they don't like female characters and stuff. And yes, I will admit, there probably are some trolls who don't want to see, like, female superheroes. But first of all, that's a very, very small minority. And second of all, you played right into their hands. You did. Because one of the first rules of, like, the internet is, like, don't feed the trolls, because trolls want that attention, right? They live to get a reaction, and, well, you just gave them the biggest reaction by making your entire show about the trolls and making trolls the main villain. So congratulations, you played yourself. And not only that, the trolls won. Like, they won. You gave them so much attention, then they became the big bad villain of a Marvel property. And, like, I could have understood it if, like, it was just, like, a passing comment about the trolls, or, like, even just, well, not really an episode, just like a throwaway line about trolls. Like, say She-Hulk and her friend are, like, just surfing the web, like, in the opening minutes of one of the episodes, and they talk about, like, online trolls that are harassing her, and Jen just says, like, oh, well, they're just trolls, I don't really care. But even that, like, could be seen as, like, giving them attention. But the fact that they made that, but the fact they made an entire TV show where the trolls are the bad guys, like, bravo. Like, honestly, like, I'm impressed by whoever the hell was harassing them that much that they made them the main villains. Like, holy shit. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of that Scream movie, the latest one with Jack Quaid, where they actually made where they did a play on the fans of like Star Wars getting mad about like The Last Jedi and Rian Johnson. They made those types of people the main villains. And good job on those people who got mad at Rian Johnson and the Disney trilogy so much that they became the main villains of a Scream film. Like, I don't know. Like, on the one hand, like, I do think that filmmakers should listen to their fans, because, like, you know, those are the people giving them money. Like Sonic the Hedgehog, they listen to the fans, and guess what? Those movies turned out very successful. But they also kind of have to know, like, which people are their audience, because, like, those trolls, they're like a very, very small minority. Like, they want a reaction. Like, they want the filmmakers to respond to them, right? And every time that something like this happens, where She-Hulk comes out and makes the trolls the main villain, or like demonizes the fan base, like the latest Scream movie does, all they did was just give those people the ultimate power, because all you're doing is telling all those people that those trolls and those rabid fans are living rent-free in your heads. So, good job. But that's really it for me. I got nothing at this point. I really don't know what else to say about this show. Like, I tried putting off talking about the finale for a while. Like, I think it's almost been a week since it aired. But, you know what? I heard those articles about how they were talking about how, like, oh, our show was like a fuck you to the trolls. And I just had to make the video, because, like, they really did screw the pooch on the show in general. Even more so when they pulled a Rian Johnson and said, like, yeah, this was to stick it to the people who are mean to us on Twitter. But I'm done talking. I'm honestly not sure what the next Marvel property is that I'm going to be watching, because if Kevin Feige actually signed off on all of this, then I don't know what I'm going to be excited for, especially since they halted production on Blade. So, I don't know. I'm done. You guys all have a good one.